Yeah, we do. This is cool. And we're spacing them out enough to do them when they mean something, not just to,
Hmm.
hey, let's go do a live show. When something's good and something we can sink our teeth into, I think is a good time to do this. And we got a cool two-parter tonight.
Hmm.
Good two-part show tonight, right? A lot
Yeah,
to talk about.
we do. And the first thing we're going to talk about, we'll get to that in just a second, is the Nancy Guthrie case, because it's been all over the news, and Tom and I have been all over media being asked about it constantly. And it's kind of something we decided we would bring up and let you hear our perspectives rather than just answering questions. But also tonight, the second part of this is a very important thing. We're glad to have Ed Hartnett with us. Ed Hartnett is a friend for a long time. He was a retired deputy chief in the NYPD and also a police commissioner of Yonkers, New York. He's a very well respected man in law enforcement leadership circles. And he's going to talk about a topic that needs some attention. And we'll get into that with him when he gets on. But we're honored to have him on to talk about it. And he's one of those people doing something about it.
Yeah, it's a tough subject, but we've done numerous shows about it, and it's important because you got to keep talking about it.
Hmm.
Law enforcement suicide, police suicides, all that. But first, let's. First thing I want to do, if I
Hmm.
can,
Yeah, yeah.
uh, we got a show coming up in a couple of weeks of someone that's really cool. That we're gonna have a lot of fun with. And it's about a podcast up in Canada, which is, I mean, the show is amazing. Ashley Lana has a show called Lullaby, the Fear podcast.
Hmm.
Dude, her production of this is crazy, crazy. She picks out a topic and then dives into the criminal part of it and then goes all in psychological stuff and in intense stuff.
Hmm.
And Ashley's really cool. Me and her become pretty good friends and been talking, building up to the show. It's going to be in a couple of weeks. We're really looking forward to it. So I just want to show everyone this. Make sure you go check her stuff out. Check her podcast out. Here's her webpage. It's really cool. You got, just all her stuff. All her shows are on here. Everything's on there that you want to see about her, episodes, all this stuff about Ashley. And like I said, the show is amazing. So go check it out. It's on Apple. It's on everywhere else that you can get podcasts.
Really looking forward to having her on because her show is a very big deal in Canada. She's got an amazing following and probably even globally too. But this whole sort of, you call it an art form or a media form, whatever it is, that's podcast, is so interesting because so many different approaches come into it. You and I are doing a very basic old school interview style, microphones, talking, occasionally interjecting something like a 911 tape or something like that. But for the most part, we're just about interviews. But some people add so many different layers and do so many hours of research. We research, but not like some people do.
Oh,
And they really take this to a new level. So we tip our hats to people who do that.
yeah, and that's what all this is about. Get some other shows out there that people, can go get entertained by. That's done differently than ours. You nailed it. And Ashley does that. I mean, it's a full scale production. It's a great show. Lullaby, the Fear podcast, Apple, Spotify, all that good stuff. Go check her out, please. Dan, let's get going on this.
Yeah. So I think it's day 12 now, and unless you've been in a coma, you're aware that Savannah Guthrie's mother, Nancy, is missing under suspicious circumstances, possibly a kidnapping, possibly a hunt. We don't know. And I think the more it goes on, the less I know definitively what we're really dealing with here. And it's been kind of a big mystery. It's followed 24/7, wall to wall on the media around the world. I know I've been on a bunch of different media talking about it. Tom has been on constantly. So it's kind of a weird case, isn't it, Tom?
Yeah, it's me and you have talked numerous times about it, that we haven't seen something like this, before. Just, starting off a certain way and thinking it's something, and then it turns and it's something else. And every time you kind of go two steps, like, all right, there's a little momentum going, it goes back five. I mean, Dan, listen, you've done hundreds of kidnappings. and you're an expert in it. And I'm not just saying that because I'm your partner, but I know, I know what you've done. And talking to you, tell everyone, tell me what stands out, what's different, what kind of a typical kidnapping would look like as to what we're looking at here.
Right.
I'm interviewing you now. I didn't mean it that way, but you know what I mean.
Okay, it's all good. I think the kidnapping cases I worked them in the major case squad of the NYPD during my time there, and I'd say probably 125 I had my hands in. We had a lot. We dealt with a lot. It was a busy, busy time for kidnapping, and a lot of them were alien smuggling related or narcotics related, cartels and stuff like that. It was crazy stuff, but none of it was. Well, only one was really high profile where it made the news. And people on the news are all talking about how this is so rare to have a kidnapping. It ain't rare. It's rare that it's high profile. It's happening. But our typical case was a victim is snatched, a ransom demand is made, usually a phone call to the family or somebody who they know has the ability to pay. They want to keep the police out of it. We had to keep very low key if they reported it to us. And we wanted never to tip our hand that we were involved. Negotiations would go on with the family. An arrangement would be made. A ransom drop would happen. And the victim would either be there or not. And we had to adjust our tactics. We did a lot of surveillance, working around the clock, going up on emergency wiretaps, waking the DA up in the middle of the night to have him sign wiretap orders, all this kind of stuff to get that victim back safe. Because honestly, that is the only priority right away. The top priority, safe return of the victim. Everything else is a distant second. Once you've got that victim back and they're recovered and usually going to a hospital, then it's insane. If you haven't made the arrests already, it's an insane search to grab whoever is responsible. The ransom money, you get it, you get it. You don't get it, you don't get it, but you get the case. So what's happened here is so different because it took 3 days for a ransom demand to come in and it went into TMZ. It's really, really strange.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of like back early when this started, when both me and you were doing stuff on it. That was the number one question. Like, all right, what about the ransom? What about the ransom? And I'm like, the bad guys, kidnappers, abductors, whatever you want to call them, they don't want to hang on to a victim. They want, I got him. Here's what I want. Give it back to me. Here, have the victim back. The longer they hang on to that victim, the better chance it is for us to track them down. And it takes too much attention. You got to house them. You got to keep them somewhere. You would think you want to keep them alive because gone doesn't work out for them. So, and you know that too, more than me. You got to keep them alive. And that's a lot of work sometimes.
It can be a lot of work and it's a lot of risk because if you have somebody like in her situation who's got poor health or at least needs a lot of health monitoring with medications, etc., and she's out of her element without her medications, you have a high risk that she is not going to be okay. And when that happens, you can no longer provide proof of life, which means you have no leverage to get your money. So it's funny, a lot of in America, for the most part, a kidnapping that goes down, they kind of want to get rid of the victim soon. Sometimes they just kill them. Depends upon who they do. If we're talking about cartels, they'll get the money and then kill a person. It happens. But outside the country, and I've worked some in my corporate roles outside the country, depending upon where you are, sometimes it used to be in South America, they would grab an American oil executive or something and hold him in the mountains for 18 months.
Yeah.
While they're trying to get Exxon or Mobil to pay $25 million. And they would have 40 different victims hidden in the mountains of Colombia or Ecuador or whatever. Crazy stuff used to happen. I'm not sure how much of that's happening nowadays, but kidnapping is a financial crime. Around the world, it's used as a tool by terrorists, by political groups. It happens.
Yeah. And see, you brought up a great point and you just talked about and mentioned oil companies. That's the one thing that jumped into, my head right away. I'm a bad guy. I'm grabbing Savannah Guthrie's mother. I'm calling NBC. I'm not calling TMZ.
Exactly.
NBC is the mothership. They're getting an email or Savannah's getting one directly. This is what we got. This is what I got. This is what I want. That's it. I mean, to interject TMZ in the middle of it, that's why I never from day one thought that anything the TMZ angle wasn't legit.
Well, we've
It
already
just didn't make any sense.
got one guy arrested already for
Right.
filing false, for extortion attempt. It brings the wingnuts out once it's in the media. So let's bring it back. Let's go real back to the first response. The
Yeah.
response to the house. The first cop or two cops get there, and they see blood. Okay, we've got blood. You don't have a missing person at that point. You have a crime scene,
Mhm.
which means a crime has taken place. That's kind of why it's called that. So we'll say, why would you put out a flyer for missing person if you had reason to believe there was foul play at the scene? Because now you've put it on the national, if not the global media spotlight is on this case now, which means you're going to get thousands of wingnut calls, and that's what they're getting. But then again, let's just caution this whole discussion by saying neither one of us is in the squad room with the evidence. We don't know what they know.
100%. Right.
But when you look back and then we talk about crime scene, Tom, right? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I was, like we said, we get there, we have the resource, we're coming from an angle of NYPD. You see the blood and it's an immediate back up, make
Mhm.
sure the victim's not around. Obviously, we're going to look, in the house, make sure you don't disturb anything. But then we're calling the troops.
Mhm.
Someone shut down the road. No one else is coming up here. Start putting up the tape, the whole 9 yards in and around it. And like we've said so many times, when you have a house like this, it's more than likely an inside crime scene.
Mhm.
Close the door.
Right.
Close the door. Stand on the sidewalk and wait for everyone to show up. I mean, they're going to they just handed, I was just talking to someone about this afternoon.
Mhm.
Let's say perfect world, everything works out. Nancy gets back. They catch and lock up the bad guy. Do you know how many defense attorneys right now are writing down notes?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they're going to get crushed
Mhm.
if this ever goes to a part where we want it to,
Mhm.
and someone gets grabbed. And if they go to trial, they're going to get wrecked.
They released the crime scene during an active kidnapping.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
That's it.
They released the crime scene during an active kidnapping,
Right.
not knowing how many times they might have to go back for more information based upon where the case goes. And then when they went back, like you just said, they gave it as a gift to the defense attorney
Yeah.
that any and everything they got in second, third, fourth, fifth visits is questionable.
Yeah.
We don't know who put that there.
Oh, they're going to get this. I mean, you had cameramen standing over the blood
Mhm.
photographing it.
Yeah.
And then, genius move, they show up and go, "Oh, we got to do something. Everyone leave." Like, wait a minute. The bathwater scenario people throw out, put the toothpaste back in the tube, all that stuff. You're done. At that point, it's over.
Yep.
Let them all stay around and search around them.
Horses
At that point, doesn't matter.
You're right. You can't. You've lost it. Once you've lost, you can never get your crime scene back. Just
No.
like the tape, you're going to put up tape. You're going to put it as far as possible. If you have to use extra spools of tape, do it. This is a mountainous region. Take the whole road. Take everything, because you can always bring it in. You can never bring it back out again. Right? It's only pristine once.
Right.
And that was, I think, going to be problematic for a case down the road. But let's talk real quick about the twists and the things that are happening. And, I think we're all kind of getting fatigued with this case. And I don't mean to disrespect Savannah Guthrie or her mom or her family at all. They're doing their part. They're appealing to whoever has done this. They're obviously extremely traumatized by what's going on. But all this speculation, all this supposition, what if this happened? What if that, all that kind of stuff, I don't think is helping. I think it's important to keep smart people in the room doing the investigation and trying to keep a lid on things. There's what the media can and should know and what they shouldn't know at a point like this, right?
Yeah, no doubt. I agree. And we've been there. We've been in these situations of not releasing certain information. I get all that. But when you have a total shutdown,
Mhm.
that's what creates conspiracy theories and rumors and the wing nuts of, you know, it's this and it's that. I mean, they're bringing Epstein into this stuff. It's
Mhm.
just it doesn't stop if you don't give the public something like, hey, this is where we're at. This is where we're going. If anything else other than this pops up, we'll let you know. Thanks. But
Yeah.
just the dead radio silence is too much. Before we run out of time, I want to ask you
Mhm.
about the video. Give me your thoughts on the video.
The doorbell, the Ring video or whatever company it is of the guy coming up to the doorbell. That's what we're talking about, right?
Right.
Okay, so we have a male person coming up wearing a face covering, winter cap. You can see his eyes, you can see his mouth, you can see his eyebrows. Okay, great. He's wearing a pair of gloves, and then, like most geniuses do, he sticks his face right in the camera while he's trying to cover it up, which I always laughed at. They did that all the time, subways and
Right.
housing projects. They put their face and then they spray paint it with their face. But this guy, you know, with the backpack, the way he had that holster for that weapon
Bizarre.
in front of him, really bizarre.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody really carry it like that, except
Mm-mm.
the swivel holster days when we had it in our seat, in between
That's
our
true.
legs in the
Right.
car. But just a strange individual. And maybe there's more, and I hope there is more video evidence that they've collected that they're not sharing yet to help identify this person. But that was a really strange video. It's 1:30 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and he's
Yep.
disabling the camera uh, on the Ring thing by pulling the what is it, a battery, pulling it out. It's just strange.
Yeah, the whole thing. What I would like to see, I said this today too, with all the technology today with chat and AI and all that,
Mhm.
take the video and colorize it. Get the color out of it. There might be a decal or a logo, on his jacket, on the jeans, on his backpack, whatever, that might be really significant, and you can't see it in a black and white grainy video. I mean, I would love to see them just release some sort of, enhanced color one. I think would help the public a lot.
Mhm.
But we've seen it day in, day out. The more the public sees stuff, someone's going to pop up and know him. His walk, the
Yeah.
backpack, whether the store sold it to him,
Mhm.
whatever. Maybe he did something weird in the store that day when he bought it that someone's going to remember.
Yeah.
You know, but chilling video too.
Yeah. Really disturbing because we finally now have a glimpse of that somebody was there, in fact, in the middle of the night with bad intent. They got a gun right out in a holster in front of them. I mean, they had a backpack. Who knows what was in it? So I think we've talked about this already amongst ourselves. There's a possibility, a very strong one, that the outcome of this case, either of two things will happen. One, we'll all be surprised by who's involved and what really happened here,
Hmm.
because and maybe all these ransom demands could be nonsense. Again, we haven't seen them, we don't know, but they most of them don't smell right.
Hmm.
Or the other thing, which is that, and again, this is not wishing this is the case, but she's deceased. She's secreted someplace hidden. These guys are fleeing for the hills. At
Hmm.
which point we have a cold case,
Right.
and it could go on for a long time.
Hmm.
Now they're 40 miles or so from the Mexican border, I believe.
Right.
If they stuck her in the trunk of a car and drove her, whoever this was, into Mexico, goodbye.
Yeah.
This isn't getting solved.
I know. These are the things. And again, everyone holds out hope and you hope and,
Mhm.
but first of all, time was never on their side from the get
Mhm.
because of her age, her medication, her
Right.
disabilities of walking. So, 2 hours was against the clock.
Mhm.
Now you're talking 12 going on 13
Days.
days.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but hey, you know what? We've seen weirder, Dan.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I hold out that we could be very surprised is what I
Yeah.
say, and I hope it's a good surprise, and
Yeah.
I join you and everybody else in prayer for the Guthrie family and for Nancy that she's safely recovered. This case has a resolution, and we can move on from it as a world, because the world is paying attention to it right now.
Right. And we hope that's all.
Mhm.
they got to lead. They got the gloves, that they're checking out, that was made. And listen, everyone out there listening to this and watching this, Dan and I will fully admit this. We rely on criminals making mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
There is hardly ever a perfect crime. Hardly ever.
Mm-hmm.
The most infamous historical serial killers have made mistakes
Absolutely.
that have gotten them grabbed. So much less this guy or these guys. Somewhere along the line, they goof something up. It's just a matter of finding it, right?
Yeah, and hopefully patient and skilled investigators doing a real solid, complete investigation of anything and everything that they can will unveil who did this, and we can get some resolution for all people involved. Absolutely.
Right. Yep.
Hey, let's move on. We have a guest in the green room, and if he would join us now, we'd be happy to get him on. I can see he's in our green room.
There he is.
So we're honored to have on Gold Shields tonight, longtime friend and someone who I respect immensely, Ed Hartnett. As I mentioned earlier, gave you a little bit of his voir dire. He's a retired NYPD deputy chief, no small feat, and he was the police commissioner of Yonkers, New York City, right above the Bronx border, that had more than its share of problems when he came in, and he did a great job there over the course of 5 years, reimagining a lot of things for the city of Yonkers. And he's since gone on to do quite a bit of consulting, helping police agencies all over the country. He's a very active member in the International Association of Chiefs of Police. And you can stop me anytime you want, Ed, but
no, he's not going to do that.
we got 40 minutes left. Come on.
He's also an excellent driver. Yeah. Now, Ed, welcome to Gold Shields. It's a thrill to have you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Tom. Thank you both guys. And great job with the show. Really great job with the show. Proud of you. Hey, but before we get into any other topic, if I may, you guys touched on a lot with the Guthrie kidnapping. If I may, just for a couple of minutes.
Oh, yeah,
absolutely.
I'm not a kidnapping expert, but similar to you, Dan, I did federal drug task force work, a lot of cartel work, as you know, and it was weird, and I don't mean to be flip, but very often the kidnappings were narcotics related, as you mentioned, and we used to call some of them friendly kidnappings because it was like maybe a load got intercepted by the police and they had to hold somebody accountable, so they would grab somebody's nephew, either in the United States or Mexico or Colombia or wherever. They hold on to the guy for a while. The guy would be hanging out at some villa somewhere in the mountains, access to the pool, having some drinks, having some cocktails, hanging out until the word came down. And it was like, if negotiations didn't go well, then he would disappear. But it drives me a little crazy because as Tom mentioned, Dan, you are a kidnapping expert. I know that. I know you 100 years. But I don't see Dan Murphy or Dan Murphy's on some of these shows. And the shows, there's a lot of experts and some experts. Some of them are very good. Without mentioning names, some of them are very, very good and they're spot on. And it's hard, as we've all done TV, it's hard because you don't want to say too much and divulge the various investigative techniques that are out there. But you want to say something substantive, so you have to walk that fine line. Some of the so-called experts have somebody told them some investigative techniques, and now they're blabbing them all over national TV, sadly, to make themselves look smart, and so they'll get invited back on the show someday. Yeah. So it drives me mad to see that. One guy was like, polygraph everyone. Well, you guys know better than me. You don't polygraph everyone. I mean, you could go off on all different kinds of tangents if you polygraph every. Some guy's nervous. Now the needle starts to jump a little bit. Now all of a sudden he's a suspect. Yeah. No, he's not. He's a nervous guy. Now, if you have somebody you have a bad vibe about, of course, maybe you suggest a polygraph there. And then other ones are saying about proof of life. Don't pay any money until you have proof of life. Well, imagine if Savannah Guthrie, who has the resources to pay this ransom, listens to some of these folks, and then all of a sudden, now the person dies or they never find them because they refused to pay because of no proof of life. So watching some of the experts drives me nuts. And I just want to say that as part of my therapy session here.
You're right. And you know what? Half of that, Ed, and we'll move on to why you're here. But being that you brought it up, and Dan and I have been talking about this all week, it also goes on, the anchors that they're running out of things to ask.
Yeah.
and it's the same stuff. Like I'm going on, a few as well, and Dan is later, in the week, and you're trying to come up with different ways to answer the same questions. And hey, you don't blame them. They have to keep this going because you want it to continue. But I hear you, man. And it's one of those just bizarre. I never thought this would be 13 days. And when it started.
It's sad. And Tom, you mentioned like you take an 84-year-old woman like this. Obviously, they leave her phone behind. Obviously, they don't want to be tracked. They leave her medicine behind. I mean, these guys are not very sophisticated, I don't think. But a lady that age without her necessary medicine every day, it's not a great scenario, sadly.
Right.
Yep. You're absolutely right. This is it's a sad situation, and we'd all like to see some kind of resolution. I'm sure the family would too. They can't be sleeping. They're not eating right. They're, walking on eggshells every second. This is a horrible experience. I've been with kidnapped victim families, sat with them for hours and watching a phone, waiting for it to call and doing it. It's so tense and so stressful on everybody, but on them, it takes years off your life. And I wish somehow that this can get resolved in a positive way so they can begin to put this behind them. But thanks for your insights, Ed. We try not to be, Ed and I do get asked, Tom and I do get asked to be on shows here and there once you get on the Rolodex or one station or whatever they call you. And there's been times we turn it down because I am not an expert in A, B, or C, right? Don't ask me to be on about that because I cannot give you expert advice. I can tell you, practitioner kind of, but not, I want to be careful with that. You have to be.
Yep.
Yeah, and your reputation is attached to that. So if you come off like you're an alleged expert, and you give shoddy information, then you're not going to get called anymore. But also in the world that you live in the private sector, it's like it impacts your credibility.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, agreed. So we're here with you today, Ed, to talk about a topic that's near and dear to your heart, something that has been you and the private sector liaison section of the IACP are starting to focus on, and that is retiree law enforcement suicides. A lot of attention gets given when a member of a police agency anywhere commits suicide while in service, and rightly so. But when it comes to retirees, there really hasn't been a lot of data collected on it or a lot of focus, has there?
No, there hasn't. And and thank you again, guys, for having me on. I don't want to take too much of your time with this, but I kind of got into this, I don't want to say by accident, but again, I serve as the vice chair of the International Association of Chiefs of Police Private Sector Liaison section. And as the name of the group implies, it's some active duty police chiefs on it, retired chiefs like myself, some private sector people. We get together and we do some subcommittee work. We reward good examples of public-private partnerships. We've done some work on workplace violence, drones, alarm systems. So it's a cool group. There's a lot of exchange of good ideas back and forth. So sadly, a couple of years ago, a friend and colleague who out of nowhere, with no signs or symptoms, commit suicide. He had been retired a couple of years. He had a thriving business. He had a lovely family, apparently, by all accounts. I knew him personally, just a good, solid person, real solid citizen. One of those ones that you'd never suspect. We've all been around active duty cops, and when somebody commits suicide, many times it's a big surprise. Sometimes it's not. And we all know, if we look back, so-and-so might have had problems. We all kind of knew he had problems, and then sadly commit suicide. But this is very vexing because nobody's tracking these, like you said. A common scenario is in this case is guy does 20, 25 years in a department, wherever, New York, Chicago, LA, small town, big town, whatever. Then he or she gets a job in the private sector, works for a few years, maybe relocates, maybe retires or semi-retires. So 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, he kills himself. Now, back when he moved from Chicago to Miami, and then 5 or 10 years later, he kills himself. Maybe some of his neighbors knew he was a cop. Maybe they didn't. But nobody's tracking it. So it's hard to even know the scope of the problem. Anecdotally, it is a big problem. But we don't know anybody who's out there tracking these, identifying any kind of hotspots by department, by region, by age group, by male, by female. Nobody's tracking it. I had a precinct narcotics team in the 46th precinct. I had 7 guys, all good cops. I was a sergeant. Years later, 2 of them died by their own hand after being retired for several years. Nobody saw that coming.
Wow.
I can think of at least, when I put my mind to, I think at least 5 people I know that retired themselves, that killed themselves long after they retired. So right now I'm in the, I guess you'd call the raising awareness stage. I want to try to do something, or at least get something going, get the discussion started. So maybe a think tank. I'm going to be in contact with the national FOP, because like the military, sadly, they have a huge suicide problem. Most of it's involving active members, but they can track them. They have a clearinghouse of how to track them. Policing has nothing similar to that, because there's really no national police database. FOP is a good start, I think, but there's really nothing like what the military has in place right now. So we're starting to, again, raise awareness. I'm going to go on several shows like this to get the discussion started. And please, to your folks out there watching, if they want to pass on any kind of suggestions to you guys, please, funnel them to me. I'm happy to get it. This is not a one-man show. I got some good people looking to help me here. But again, those scenarios are interesting because, relocation, you see, even guys in the job, you'll see the suicide hits a lot of different boxes, drinking, financial problems, estrangement from family, divorce, and that's all, signs and symptoms of a potential problem. But then you have the outlier that nobody saw coming.
Yeah.
Everything to listen, so to speak.
Why, you brought up a great point between the military and law enforcement, and there's so many other times that we see such a great correlation between law enforcement and military in so many other areas. Why don't you think, like, what's the problem? Why isn't law enforcement understanding this is a problem and it's not going away, and come up with something like you're describing?
Yeah, it's maddening because the jobs across the country have done a very good job, I think, of outreach, employee assistance programs, peer group like PAPA, peer group support. There's no way to measure how many of these tragedies they've prevented. But it's sadly because once they leave the active duty, I hate to say they're forgotten, but they are forgotten. I checked with the New York City pension system, the biggest police pension system in probably the world. And I don't expect them to do anything, but I asked down there, I asked one of the top guys, do you guys have any database, anything that says this member killed himself? They said they may get a call anecdotally, but basically all they do is they stop payment. It's sad, but that's the reality. They stop the pension payments because the guy's not alive anymore. But there's nobody, I don't expect them to do it, but there's nobody sounding this alarm, I guess. And I don't want to be the lone voice crying in the wilderness, but I want some other voices with me crying in the wilderness, so to speak. So I'm going to do what I can to get this at least started in some way and get the recognition I think it deserves. I'm not a therapist. I'm not an expert on this. I was never in an employee assistance program. But again, right now, short term, it's about raising awareness, and then maybe a little bit past that, some kind of tracking system that this stuff all goes into some kind of pot, some kind of database, some kind of clearinghouse where now we can do something about it. Because it's great to talk about treatment programs and prevention programs and all that other good stuff, but we're not there yet. We're not even close to that yet. And again, in the job, if there was a member that was going down the wrong path and people started to get concerned about him, the quickest thing to do is, and I've done it many times as a captain, as a chief, remove their firearms. All right, so that takes the firearms off the table. Can they still do some harm to themselves? Of course, but getting that firearm out of it is huge, and we all get that. But who does that when the guy's retired for 10 years?
No.
The local sheriff is not going to come unless there's really heavy alarms raised. The local sheriff, the local chief is not going to send his guys, go take that guy's firearms because his neighbor thinks he might hurt himself. It just doesn't happen. So, I could go on and on about this, but again, just asking for your help, asking for your assistance, asking your audience if they have any thoughts. Like I said, please let us know because, it's something I want to at least move forward as best I can.
You know, it's a really, really worthwhile endeavor. And sitting here thinking, and I've talked with you about this before about some of the people that I know that have post, post retirement taken their own lives. It's always a tragedy. There are indicators in a person's life that are leading in that direction. But I think thinking about some kind of a screening mechanism, whether that be, you said regional, it could be. Let's say, for example, you were in the NYPD and you were involved in 2 gunfights and you got suspended once and you had a drinking problem. These are like human beings are kind of like trees. When you look at it, you cut a tree, a big sequoia in half, you can look at the rings, count its age, and you can tell when it was a big fire. There's all kinds of different stuff. Things stay with us. So if that person went through, let's say they got wrongfully arrested and had to go to trial and beat it and were embarrassed. I mean, these are traumatic things that stay with people. And there's a lot of stuff that happens in a department like that in the course of a career anywhere in policing. And so is anybody at more risk than anybody else? I don't know. It also depends upon the person's personality, their sensitivities, whether or not they have a history of mental health issues themselves or depression. But a lot of it, I believe, is honestly is environmental. It's their life and what their experiences are. And that can really, it can do a lot of damage to somebody. So I love that you're doing this. And I hope our audience, anybody that's listening now or listens to it later on, will think about this in terms of if they know any resources or anybody that can get in touch with Ed. You can do that through us, info at thegoldshieldshow.com of our website. Just send us a note. We'll sure share it with Ed. Think about this. Give it some thought, especially to members of law enforcement, current or retired, and their families, because we want to see something done about this too. Our oath doesn't die when we retire, but neither does the effects of the things we've seen and done, right?
And Tom, by the way, Dan didn't mention, but he's also a member of my committee, and I'll be putting a headlock on him pretty soon. So
it was a nice comment by someone. So sorry for your loss, Ed. Seems easy to put together a tracking spreadsheet. Being that I don't have my glasses on, J. Lynn, yay.
J. Lynn, yay.
So thank you for that. But Dan, you're so right. And we've done so many shows on this and we have so many comments, and Brian Sizemore actually hit me up after we posted we were going to do this tonight, as keep the light going, keep the focus on this. And Brian's story is sad, but I think, Ed, we have enough people that we've done the show with who can reach out to you, and we're gonna get that going and see great. If what we can do. It's Jody. Hi, Jody. Thanks for joining us and thank you for the message. But we can get a few people. I mean, Dan, man, we've done shows, Ed, and this is the sad part of it. We've done too many shows on this. That's the sad part of it. It's not one here, one here. We've done too many, and not even. We've done shows, Ed, that we didn't even know it was going to go there. Yeah. We're talking about an event or an arrest or a mission or something. Then all of a sudden, halfway through it, our guests start telling us their story, and you get blown away by it of how often it happens. And that's the sad part. And a lot of it is invisible. And, we need people like you. We need just the awareness to stay out there, because if we don't do it, it goes away.
Yeah, very true. Very true. And, we can all think of guys that we knew that did this to themselves while we were working with them. And there's almost like, you almost feel, I should have seen it coming. I should have known this. I should have done something. I could have prevented this. I mean, you start beating yourself up, but there's something was you really couldn't prevent it. Probably in most cases, you couldn't prevent it. But because the nature of our work, it's gotten better. But when we all came on, it was like nothing bothers me. I'm tough. I can handle it. I can handle it. I'm a cop. I'm a tough cop. I can handle it. I'm not going to go talk to some therapist, some stranger, some civilian about my problems, because I'm a cop. It's gotten better, but there's still that underlying meaning in there.
Yeah. How many times did you hear, "You'll be all right"? You'll be all right.
Yeah.
You'll be all right. I mean, and it just, I got to mention him because he was one of my best friends in the job, was Sergeant Jimmy McNamara, who, took his own life while I was on his anti-crime team. So that one always hurts. Mac was the best, and I always have to, when it comes up, acknowledge him because he was great to learn from and was a dear friend. So you saying that, it does. We've all had someone like that.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, plenty of people I've known on the job and then a few after. But yeah, it's so shattering to everybody who ever was in that person's life. It really is. And I when we first came in the department, all three of us, we can testify to this. The NYPD culture, as you said, was tough it up, buttercup, just do it, get out there, don't worry about it. Or if it's really bad, go drinking, because that helps everything. But at the end of the day, nobody was going to call up psych services and I'm going to go talk to psych services because I'm having a hard time with something I'm dealing with. Because you leave there without your guns, used to be. You left there with your ID card and a paper clip. You put it on your shirt and you're sitting in the midnights in the property clerk's office watching the clock. I mean, they derailed your career, and a lot of it was risk management by the city. We can't have cops running around with guns who are, suicidal and stuff. So you kind of get it, but you also get the demoralizing aspect of it and why nobody wanted to come forward.
Right.
And that's a shame. That has to change. Tom and I have talked openly about that with guests on our show, about how that culture has to change. The culture has to be that it's expected that you will have difficulties in this career. You're not an anomaly. It's expected. Just like you're a swimmer, you're going to get wet. Here's your towel. Where you're a cop, you're going to see stuff that you're going to deal with stuff that's going to affect you. So we're going to help you in advance. We're going to talk about this up front in advance and lay it out for you so it's easy, so you can come early without negative repercussions. You can come in and say, hey, had a problem dealing with this. Yep. And we might see a change if that becomes adopted, but we are seeing some positive. People are talking more about it now, right?
Big time. And you look at the problem. I mean, we come from an NYPD perspective, but I'm sure it was a nationwide problem. I came on police department in 1979. So it was actually early November of 79. So I could still say I'm a 70s cop. But look at the job back then as far as guys drinking. I mean, drinking was crazy throughout the job. And then a couple of incidents happened, and the job, to its credit, and the job doesn't always make the right moves, but the job, to its credit, basically attacked that problem of drinking on duty, certainly, and even off duty. And it's a much better environment over the years when you compare now to back then. So maybe some similar effort on the part of all law enforcement with the matter of retiree suicides. I mean, when they put their mind to it, things can get done and get done pretty quickly. But this is a much more vexing, much more complicated problem. But still, listen, cops solve problems, and usually those problems are in the community. But maybe now we got to spend some more time solving our own problems internally.
Yep.
Right. Listen, we only got a couple minutes left, and so anyone out there who knows us, and thankfully there's a few, reach out to Dan and I. We'll get you in touch with Ed, and maybe we can get something done on a team level. Get a group together to get out there. It's certainly needed. We need to just stay on top of this. I just want to see what this is. Service members and police officers are trained to be resilient, but mental illness does not mean weakness. 100%. Angela Smith.
Thank you, Angela. Great note. Thank you. And Ed, we will be in touch with you. Obviously, we talk to you all the time anyway, but we're going to be in touch with you with some of the resources that we have learned about and the people we've met since we've been blessed enough to do this show. And we'll see if we can put together some kind of coalition of folks to jump in on this, because it's important. And thank you.
That'd be great.
So much
Dan, Tom,
tonight.
Thank you very, very much. You and your audience, thank you very much. God bless.
You got it, Ed. Real quick, Jody, yes, we will be at Crime Con in Las Vegas in May. And Dan, take this real quick before we get cut off. Is taking someone to ransom common in America? Is it a rare occurrence?
It's not a rare occurrence. It's a rare occurrence that it's a high profile case.
Got it. Everyone out there, thank you so very much. Stay safe as always. We'll see everybody soon.
Thank you.